I thought you'd already gone home, Emily said as she stepped into my office carrying 2 paper cups of coffee. I wanted to finish the payroll before tomorrow. You've been here since 6 this morning. I know. She handed me a cup and smiled. One day this company will make all these late nights worth it. I looked around the small office my father had once occupied. I hope so. You don't sound convinced. I'm trying to rebuild something that almost disappeared after Dad passed away. She squeezed my hand. And you're not doing it alone. I couldn't have made it this far without you. You'll never have to. I believed every word she spoke. For 5 years she had stood beside me through unpaid bills, broken equipment, delayed projects, and endless disappointments. Whenever I doubted myself, she reminded me that love mattered more than money. The next morning Daniel walked into the warehouse carrying a clipboard. You slept here again, didn't you? Only for a couple of hours. He shook his head. You'll work yourself into the ground. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. Not if I want to save this company. Daniel leaned against the doorway. Your father would be proud. I hope so. But he'd also tell you to eat something besides vending machine snacks. I laughed. You're probably right. Before leaving, Daniel turned around. Don't forget your aunt's dinner tonight. I'm already regretting it. You have to go. I know. That evening, Emily adjusted my tie before we walked into my Aunt Linda's house. You look nervous. I've never liked family gatherings. You'll survive. I hope you're right. The front door opened before we could sit down. Nathan Brooks walked inside wearing an expensive tailored suit and carrying the confidence of someone who had never worried about money. Aunt Linda rushed toward him. My successful nephew is finally home. Nathan hugged her. It's good to see everyone. She looked at me briefly. Ryan, you should learn a thing or two from your cousin. I forced a polite smile. I'm happy learning at my own pace. Nathan walked over and shook my hand. It's been years. It has. I heard you're still running Uncle Michael's construction company. I'm trying to rebuild it. He laughed lightly. Construction is tough these days. It is. Maybe you should have chosen a different business. It's the business my father loved. He shrugged. Sentiment doesn't pay invoices. Emily looked at Nathan with quiet curiosity. So you've really been living in New York all this time? I have. What do you do there? I invest. In what? Mostly companies, real estate, and technology. She smiled. That sounds exciting. It keeps life interesting. Dinner became one long conversation about Nathan's success. What kind of car do you drive? Emily asked. Depends on the day. She laughed. Seriously. I keep a few. A few. 3. Her eyes widened. I've never even been inside a luxury car. You should fix that someday. Aunt Linda smiled proudly. Nathan has done very well for himself. Then she looked at me. Not everyone has the same ambition. Daniel quietly changed the subject. Ryan has been working non-stop. Nathan smiled politely. I'm sure he has. His tone sounded friendly, but the words felt sharp. As the evening continued, I noticed Emily asking Nathan more questions than she asked me. What was Paris like? Incredible. And Dubai? Beautiful. I've always wanted to travel. You should. On the drive home, Emily stayed silently through the passenger window. Finally, I asked, everything okay? I've just been thinking. About what? Our future. I glanced at her. What about it? She hesitated. I don't know if love is enough anymore. Her words settled over me like a storm I couldn't stop. For the first time since we met, I realized the future I had been fighting for might already be slipping away. I can't keep pretending I'm fine, I told Daniel as we sat inside my nearly empty office. You don't have to pretend with me, he replied. I still hear her voice every morning. Emily made her choice. I know. Then stop letting her make today's choice too. I stared at the faded photograph of my father hanging on the wall. I promised him I'd save this company. You promised because you loved him, Daniel said gently. He never asked you to destroy yourself. I rubbed my forehead. Selling it feels like giving up. No. He leaned forward. It feels like closing one chapter so you can write another. I stayed silent. Daniel continued, Answer me honestly. Are you fighting for your father's dream, or are you trying to prove Emily wrong? His question hit harder than I expected. Don't know anymore. Then figure it out before this place buries you. I looked around the office. The cracked walls, the outdated furniture, the machines that broke down more often than they worked. Every corner carried memories. I don't want strangers owning Dad's company. They won't own his legacy, Daniel replied. They'll own old equipment. His values are already inside you. I smiled faintly. You always know what to say. No, he laughed. I just know when you're lying to yourself. 3 weeks later, I signed the final documents. The buyer shook my hand. I wish you luck. Thank you. When he walked away, I remained in the empty building for several minutes. I did my best. Dad, I whispered. I hope that's enough. Outside, Daniel waited beside his truck. Ready? I don't think I ever will be. Good. I frowned. Good. The best decisions usually start that way. We drove across the country with little more than our savings and a few suitcases. During the long trip, Daniel glanced at me. Scared. Terrified. Excellent. You keep saying strange things. If you're scared, it means you're doing something that matters. Several days later, we walked into a business networking event. I'm not sure we belong here, I admitted. Daniel nudged my shoulder. Act like you do. Before I could answer, an older woman approached us. You look completely lost. I laughed awkwardly. Was it that obvious? I'm Margaret Sullivan. I introduced myself. She studied me for a moment. So, what do you do? I used to own a small construction company. Used to. I sold it. And now, I'm trying to figure out what's next. She smiled. Most people would invent a more impressive answer. I've had enough pretending. I like honesty. She handed me a business card. Meet me tomorrow morning. Why? Because I think you're capable of more than you believe. The next morning I arrived early. Margaret entered exactly on time. You came. You told me to. Good. She pointed toward a chair. Tell me your biggest mistake. I hesitated, trusting the wrong person. No. She shook her head. That's the consequence. Tell me the mistake. I thought carefully. I built my entire future around one person. She nodded. Now we're getting somewhere. She drew 2 circles on a notepad. One circle is survival. She tapped the first. The other is growth. She tapped the second. Which one have you been chasing? Survival. And where has it taken you? Nowhere. Exactly. She folded her hands. From today forward, stop asking how to survive. What should I ask instead? Ask how to build something impossible. Her words echoed in my mind long after the meeting ended. For the first time since Emily walked away, I wasn't thinking about what I had lost. I was thinking about what I might still become. 5 years changed everything. You have 10 minutes before the board meeting, Olivia said as she stepped into my office with a tablet in her hand. I'll be there. You skipped breakfast again. I was reading contract revisions. She smiled. That's not breakfast. It works for me. It doesn't. Daniel walked through the door carrying a folder. I've already heard the lecture. Olivia looked at him. Then back me up. I stopped trying years ago. I laughed. Both of you sound like my parents. Someone has to, Daniel replied. I stood and looked through the glass wall overlooking our headquarters. 5 years earlier, I had arrived in this city with one suitcase. Now hundreds of people worked inside a company we had built from nothing. Olivia noticed my expression. What are you thinking about? I'm remembering the first office. The one with leaking pipes. And broken chairs. And one ancient printer that hated everyone. I smiled. I honestly thought we'd fail. Daniel shook his head. I didn't. You never admitted that. I didn't have to. Olivia crossed her arms. You two were stubborn enough to succeed. The meeting ended with applause after another major contract received unanimous approval. As everyone left, Margaret remained seated. Stay for a minute. I closed the conference room door. What's on your mind? She slid a file across the table. We found our next acquisition. I opened the folder. A regional construction company. Yes. It doesn't look impressive. It isn't. Then why buy it? Because they already own valuable contracts, experienced employees, and strategic locations. I turned another page. Their finances are terrible. Exactly. So we rebuild it. She nodded. That's what we do best. I continued reading. Who's managing the company now? There have been several leadership changes. Any stable executives? She hesitated. One name might surprise you. I looked down. The page felt heavier than paper. Nathan Brooks. I stated the name for several seconds. Margaret watched me quietly. I assumed you recognized him. My cousin. I know. I closed the folder. How long has he been there? Almost 3 years. What happened to his investment empire? He made several aggressive decisions. And they failed. I leaned back. I never imagined that. Margaret folded her hands. Success without discipline rarely lasts. I nodded slowly. She spoke again. There's something else. I reopened the file. Another familiar name waited for me. Emily Carter. My heartbeat slowed. Marketing department. Yes. I couldn't speak. Margaret finally broke the silence. They are married. I know. The reports suggest they are struggling financially. I closed the file again. So life kept moving. It always does. She studied my face carefully. Are you angry? I don't know. Do you hate them? I thought for a long moment. I hated the pain. And now? I don't think about them often. Then why are your hands shaking? I looked down. She was right. They remind me of the person I used to be. Margaret smiled gently. That's different from wanting revenge. Daniel entered after knocking softly. Everything okay? I handed him the file. He read the first page. You've got to be kidding. I wish I were. He looked at me. What do you want to do? What do you think? I think we buy the company because it makes business sense. And personally, he shrugged. Personally, I don't care who works there. Olivia walked in moments later. I heard we're reviewing another acquisition. Daniel handed her the folder. She scanned several pages. This is a solid opportunity. Then she noticed my expression. What happened? I answered quietly. The executives include people from my past. She closed the folder. Will that affect your decision? I walked toward the window. Outside, employees laughed as they crossed the courtyard. 5 years earlier, I had promised myself I would become someone nobody could ever look down on again. Now the opportunity to prove it had finally arrived. The question wasn't whether I could buy their company. The question was whether I could face them without becoming the broken man I had once been. Daniel adjusted his tie and glanced at me. Ready? As ready as I'll ever be. Olivia stood beside us holding the acquisition documents. The employees are already waiting in the conference room. I nodded. Let's go. We walked through the lobby together. The building needed renovations, but I saw something more important than outdated walls. I saw people wondering whether they still had a future. Daniel leaned closer. They are nervous. I would be too. They're expecting layoffs. I know. The conference room doors opened. Every conversation stopped. More than 50 employees looked toward me. I recognized only 2 faces. Emily. Nathan. Emily's expression froze the instant our eyes met. The folder slipped slightly from her hands. Nathan blinked several times as though he couldn't trust what he was seeing. For a long moment, nobody spoke. I walked calmly to the front of the room. Good morning. Silence answered me. I smiled politely. My name is... Nathan interrupted under his breath. I know exactly who you are. Several employees looked at him in confusion. I continued without reacting. My name is Ryan Brooks, and beginning today, I have the privilege of serving as your new CEO. A few people exchanged nervous glances. I kept my voice steady. I understand many of you are worried. One employee raised his hand. Are we losing our jobs? Not because of this acquisition. Another employee asked. Then why buy the company? Because I believe it still has talented people worth investing in. The room became noticeably calmer. I continued. I don't believe in judging employees by rumors or old mistakes. Nathan lowered his eyes. I believe in results. Emily still hadn't spoken. I looked around the room. Over the next several weeks, every department will be evaluated fairly. Someone asked, Does that mean management too? Everyone. No exceptions. The meeting ended with cautious applause. As employees began leaving, I heard a quiet voice behind me. Ryan. I turned. Emily stood alone near the conference table. Could we talk? Daniel looked at me. I'll wait outside. Olivia nodded. We'll give you a few minutes. When the door closed, Emily remained silent. Finally, she whispered, I never imagined this. Neither did I. She looked down. You've changed. I hope so. I almost didn't recognize you. I recognized you immediately. She swallowed nervously. I deserve that. No, you deserve honesty. She took a slow breath. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I listened without interrupting. I told myself I was choosing security. She laughed bitterly. I was really choosing money. The room stayed quiet. I convinced myself love wasn't enough. She looked directly at me. I was wrong. I answered calmly. That realization belongs to you. I hurt you. Yes. I've wanted to apologize for years. I appreciate hearing it. She wiped away a tear. Can you ever forgive me? I thought carefully before answering. I forgave you long before today. She stared at me. You did. I couldn't build the life I wanted while carrying resentment. Then, we're okay. We're not enemies. She lowered her head. I don't deserve your kindness. This isn't kindness. She frowned. What is it? It's peace. Before she could respond, another knock came from the door. Nathan stepped inside without waiting. There you are. His voice sounded forced. I figured we'd have to talk eventually. Emily quietly excused herself. As she walked past him, neither of them spoke. Nathan folded his arms. So, I guess congratulations are in order. Thank you. He forced a smile. You've done well. I've worked hard. He shrugged. Business is unpredictable. It can be. I've had some bad luck. I looked at him without answering. He continued. The economy wasn't exactly helpful. I remained silent, and some partners made terrible decisions. Still, I said nothing. Finally, I asked one question. What decision would you change? Nathan hesitated. For the first time since I had entered the building, he had no immediate answer. 3 months passed faster than I expected. Olivia walked into my office carrying another performance report. You should see this. I looked up from my laptop. Good news. Mostly. She placed a folder on my desk. The marketing department exceeded every target. Emily's team. Yes. I nodded. She earned that result. Olivia smiled. I knew you'd say that. What did you expect? Some people would let personal history influence business. I promised myself I never would. She tapped another page. Unfortunately, operations tell a different story. I opened the report. Several costly mistakes appeared in bold print. My expression hardened, all connected to Nathan. She nodded. He approved every one of them. Did he explain why? He blamed suppliers. And before that, the scheduling team. And before that, the previous management. I sighed. So nothing is ever his responsibility. That's what the reports suggest. Daniel entered moments later. I've just finished interviewing department managers. What did they say? They are frustrated. Because they keep cleaning up problems they didn't create. I closed the folder. Schedule a meeting with Nathan. Already done. That afternoon, Nathan entered my office confidently. You wanted to see me. Please sit. I'd rather stand. As you wish. I slid the reports across the desk. Walk me through these decisions. He barely glanced at the papers. The vendors failed us. I spoke with the vendors. They are lying. The project managers. They are protecting themselves. The finance department. They misunderstood. I folded my hands. So everyone is wrong except you. He frowned. That's not what I said. It's exactly what you've implied. He crossed his arms. You've never liked me. This conversation isn't about liking anyone. It feels personal. No, I pointed to the documents. These numbers are personal only to the company. They are temporary setbacks. They've cost us millions. He looked away. You can recover. We will. He looked back at me. So what's the problem? The problem is leadership. He laughed quietly. You're blaming me. I'm holding you accountable. Same thing. No, I kept my voice calm. Blame ignores evidence. I tapped the reports. Accountability begins with evidence. He remained silent. I continued. I've reviewed every recommendation. So, you ignored repeated warnings. They were overly cautious. You bypassed approval procedures. I was saving time. You signed contracts without financial clearance. I trusted my instincts. I leaned forward, and your instincts were wrong. His jaw tightened. So what now? I'm removing you from your management position. His face changed instantly. You can't be serious. I am. This is revenge. No, it has to be. If I wanted revenge, I wouldn't have hired you after the acquisition. He opened his mouth but couldn't answer. I continued. You kept your position because I believed everyone deserved a fair opportunity. I owned this company years ago. I shook my head. No one earns leadership through family connections. He stared at me. You've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for you to take responsibility. He turned toward the door. This isn't over. It isn't. He paused. You'll regret this. I regret only one thing. He looked back. What? Believing you might finally learn from your mistakes. He walked out without another word. The office became quiet. Several minutes later, Olivia entered. How did it go? I removed him from management. She nodded slowly. I expected that. I hoped it wouldn't become necessary. You gave him every chance. I know. She sat across from me. Do you feel satisfied? I thought carefully. No. Angry. No. Then what? Disappointed. She smiled gently. That's how I knew you were ready to lead. I looked at her. Why? Because revenge would have felt exciting. She paused. Responsibility never does. Daniel knocked once before stepping into my office. You have a visitor. Who is it? He hesitated. Emily. I looked toward the window for a moment. Send her in. He nodded quietly and closed the door behind him. Emily entered holding a small envelope. Thank you for seeing me. Please, have a seat. She remained standing. I won't take much of your time. I waited. She took a slow breath. I turned in my resignation this morning. I received the notice. I'm leaving the city. I hope it brings you the fresh start you're looking for. She managed a faint smile. I used to think a fresh start meant finding a richer life. She looked down. Now I think it means becoming a better person. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, she held out the envelope. I wrote something. I accepted it but didn't open it. You don't have to read it now. I will. She nodded. I wanted to apologize one last time. You already have. Not like this. She wiped her eyes. I was selfish. I stayed quiet. I measured people by what they owned instead of who they were. She laughed softly through tears. I thought I was chasing security. She shook her head. I was chasing appearances. I answered calmly. We all make choices. I chose the wrong one. You did. She didn't argue. I hurt the one person who loved me without conditions. I looked at her. I did love you. I know. She lowered her head. I didn't understand that until it was too late. I spoke gently. I forgive you. She looked up immediately. You do. I forgave you years ago. She smiled sadly. Does that mean? I finished her sentence. No. Her shoulders dropped slightly. I understand. I can't forgive the past without rebuilding it. She nodded. I don't deserve another chance. This isn't about deserving. What is it about? Some chapters end because they have already taught us everything they were meant to teach. She took a deep breath. I'm glad you found peace. So am I. She stepped toward the door before stopping. I always believed losing you was your tragedy. She smiled sadly. It turned out to be mine. She left quietly. I remained alone for several minutes. Instead of sadness, I felt something unexpected. Relief. The weight I had carried for years was finally gone. A knock interrupted my thoughts. Margaret entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. I saw Emily leaving. You probably guessed why she came. I did. She handed me a cup. How do you feel? Peaceful. She smiled. That's the answer I hoped to hear. We sat in silence for a moment. Then she reached into her briefcase. I have something for you. She placed a folder on my desk. I opened it. Retirement papers. She nodded. I've delayed this long enough. I looked at her in surprise. I thought you'd never retire. I used to think that too. You've built this company. She smiled warmly. No, I helped build a leader. I shook my head. I still need your advice. You'll always have it. She laughed. You just won't have me correcting your presentations every week. I might actually miss that. Might. I definitely will. She reached across the desk. When we first met, you were trying to survive. I remember. Now you're helping hundreds of families build stable lives. She squeezed my hand gently. I always believed you could become this man. I didn't. I know. She stood. That's why I believed enough for both of us. I watched her leave the office with quiet gratitude. A few minutes later, Olivia walked in carrying financial reports. I heard Margaret was here. She announced her retirement. Olivia smiled. She couldn't have chosen a better time. I nodded. She said something I'll never forget. What was it? She said she didn't build a company. I paused. She built a leader. Olivia smiled. I think she was right. For the first time in years, I believed she was too.